Is there even room at this point for Kyle Duggar on the 53-man roster? I don't think Phil had him on his current iteration.
No, there's not room for him given the way they obviously regard him. So there's no room to add a safety who's making that much money if he's not going to contribute and if he's not going to run with either the starters or the backups, which seems to be the case right now. So what's confounding to me is I just didn't expect this. It's just, what is it, 2 seasons removed, 3 seasons removed from the guy being just a terrific playmaker and scorer for them. He scored the football. So to me, it's a precipitous drop, but it is clear. And when I mentioned it a few weeks ago, are there any surprise cuts that could be in the offing? And I said, well, Anfernee and Duggar make the most money, but I don't think either of them are what you would call top 10 players at their position. Anfernee has settled in, but Duggar has only gone in the direction that I didn't expect.
And I keep going back to one of the first things we learned about the Vrabel regime. It's that they're not going to be precious about players who have been here. They're going to get their guys in, and not even in these sweeping changes where you look at the coaching staff and some of the free agents. They're not all ex-Titans, but they're players that they want, that fit their vision in specific roles. And Kyle Duggar started camp with the starters. But when you're on the scout team with guys all around you who are going to be cut, needing new jobs next Wednesday, that tells you something. So the only reason you keep on the roster now is that you hope that guy from 2022 and 2023 somehow comes back with time. But he's 29. His physical prime is absolutely behind him.
The ankle injury has come up a bunch, especially in early conversations about why he might not have looked like himself early on in camp. Andrew, is it worse than what we thought? Or is that not a factor anymore and his play has just dropped off precipitously?
See, the thing about injuries is the guys are only going to tell you after the fact, which is why I talked to Kyle about this after the season. We spoke on the phone. I said, hey, what the heck is going on? You've not looked the same since September. And he said, I was misdiagnosed with a high ankle sprain that I continued to play on. They finally told me what it was, and then after the season realized I needed surgery. So my only thought now, because they're not going to tell us, is that maybe this did sap him of whatever juice he had left on, because when you watch him in space, like this is a guy who's always best when stepping forward, as a blitzer, as a tackler, as whatever. But when he has to backtrack or chase in coverage, that's where you see the loss of speed, which was already not great, really gone. And that's a problem because they're going to ask their safeties to play more man-to-man coverage. He's a liability man-to-man coverage. And if the instincts aren't there to keep him in line with the receivers that he's covering, or the tight ends, or the quarterbacks he's chasing, there's not much left.
And to me, everything he said, you can square it for me.
All right. Curran squared. Duggar, Kyle Duggar, not the only veteran defender on the field in the second half, as Anfernee Jennings played all of the third quarter and part of the fourth. The sixth-year edge rusher recorded 3 sacks. He also played late in the preseason game against the Commanders. Craig Bedard writing in the Boston Sports Journal that the fact that veteran defensive end played deep into the game suggests the Pats were showcasing him for a trade. Is he, first of all, what is his job status?
It should be a lot more safe. I was stunned when I saw him run. It should be. It's insane to me that Anfernee Jennings is expendable. This, to me, is a ridiculous proposal. This is a guy who can set the edge. He's a big defensive end. I don't care if your scheme is different and you want faster guys on the outside. He's a really good football player. He's proven it at the line, at the edge, at making tackles for loss in the past few years, and he continues to do it in camp. I have no idea why this particular player is on the outs. Andrew, help me. I don't get it.
So to answer Trenni's question, this is going to be a pick swap in the late rounds, like a future 7th for your 7th and Anfernee Jennings. Just get him off the books, get him out of town if they're going to have a trade. To your point, though, Anfernee Jennings was not just good on Saturday. He was among their best players in practice over the previous 4 to 5 practices. This goes back to last Sunday, Monday before they go to Minnesota, was good in Minnesota. And unlike Kyle Duggar, he's gone up the depth chart. This is a guy who was on the scout team in the spring at the early part of training camp. He's still only with the second team, but when Keon White or Callahan Chasen or Harold Landry are missing practice, he gets a bump. I think he deserves at this point to stay.
And the money he's making, Curran, is not it's not obscene. It's $12 million, 5.5 of it guaranteed. Like, that's nothing compared to the money that they gave to Kyle Duggar. From what you've seen in camp, has there been any indication that his play level has dropped? Or is this just, again, the defensive coaching staff thinking he doesn't fit what they're doing?
That seems to be more of the latter. They want to be an attacking defense. He's more Ninkovician in that he's a very strong and stout edge guy. He can jack people up, hold them up, and then create a pass rush. But I think that, look, I don't know what your general scheme will have where you say, I can't use a football player like this anywhere on my 53. If it's that drastically different, I get it. I don't know one iota as much as they do defensively, but Anfernee Jennings is a good player.
How much money, at the end of the day, do you think Eliot Wolf wasted. Yeah, I didn't know if that was an appropriate
No, that's right.
term or not.
Look,
Wasted.
we can go right through it. Not just picks and guys that you have invested time and money in. Here, I'll give you another one. City So. Here's a guy who 2 years ago was a starting friggin' guard for this team. Last year, he fell into disuse. Now I don't even hear the guy's name. He's still on the team. He was a starting left guard. We don't even mention the guy in the left guard conversation. So him, Devon Godshaw stomped his feet until he got an extension last year or rewrite it. So that's more money thrown out. So it's probably upwards of 20, 30 million dollars in actual dollars, $40 million in actual dollars, and time invested in individuals that are just not going to work out. And that includes draft picks that are going to go up in smoke. What would the cost be on a guy that just can't play for you, like Jalen Polk? What's the sunk cost on that you're going to have?
Well, and I think, too, there are casualties in the process of changing regimes from Belichick to Mayo and Wolf to now Vrabel with scheme changes, with how you manage your cap, your whole entire philosophy. Last year, all we were doing was talking about the Packer way, draft and develop. Does draft and develop sound like we heard from Eliot Wolf today? It was like, yeah, I'll give him a first in a second. Get out of here. No, it doesn't. So there are players like City So, who was, to Tom's point, very useful. And right now, the Patriots would love, and need a swing guard who can play left and right as they figure out whatever to do with Cole Strange, who's still playing center and botching snaps as he did today. But to me, I think it is the missed picks and the mistakes that he made early on that you just can't afford. And that's also partly the reason that Mike Vrabel's here. That was his first time calling the shots, Eliot Wolf. Didn't go great. Same with Gerard Mayo. He's gone. Wolf is still here. But Mike Vrabel is here to fix things with everyone else he's brought in. Ryan Cowden, who's going to talk tomorrow. Stretch, the whole crew that they brought from Tennessee.
And it's funny, too, because Eliot Wolf was much ballyhooed in 2021 when Robert Kraft said, we have a more collaborative front office, and I love the way it looks down there. They're all busy little beavers doing all their work. And so he hasn't just washed ashore. So 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025, he's been a part of all of those front offices. How uncomfortable must it be when he's sitting there in these meetings and they're talking about Jalen Polk can't play, we're going to have to get rid of him. And you know what? Duggar can't play, we're going to have to get rid of him. It's like, what is that thing with, yeah, who did this? What's that mean?
We're all looking for the guy who did this.
It's like that.
But to the point, like Kyle Duggar was a good scheme fit. Anfernee Jennings was a good scheme fit last year. Every year before, they changed things because he was not good enough.
Yeah, but they're not going to go someplace else that has that scheme and rip it up.
Right.
That's the thing. These guys don't leave and go, wow, the Patriots had to release a good player. Greg Spires was a guy like that.
And Kyle Duggar, at the point of signing, was 28. So you knew at that point, for an older prospect, his best football was behind him, but he got paid like a top 6-7 safety anyway.
All right, we might not want to give Eliot Wolf too much credit for this.